Hi, my name is Brian Scott, and this is a special edition of Biblio Spectacular, where books come to life with magic. What I want you to do right now is sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy some magic. But you're going to need to get a few things before you do that. You're going to need to get a deck of cards, a deck of playing cards. You can even use Uno cards or flashcards. You're going to want a piece of rope or a piece of yarn, and a stack of paper napkins or paper towel. Go ahead, you can pause the show for now and go grab those things and come back if you need to, so you won't miss anything, but I am going to continue on. In just a few moments, we are going to go into my magic workshop, my magic library, where we are going to learn about magic and where I'm going to teach you how to make magic happen. But before we do that, I wanted to do a little adventure through the library with some books. Now, these books we're going to use to have a little magical journey. So you're going to pick one of these books. Before you pick the book, though, let me tell you a little bit about them. You'll notice that we have fiction books. Those are the ones that are highlighted in blue, and those are books about things that someone used their imagination to create a story for us to enjoy. And then you'll notice some non-fiction books. Those are the ones that are highlighted in red, and those are books about things that really happened or about real people. And there's one other thing you'll notice. There's little yellow buttons on some of those pictures. Those are books that were made into movies, and you can choose one of those as well. So go ahead and take your finger right now and put it on the screen exactly where that book is. I know, you're gonna have to come a little bit closer and put your finger on the screen. Now, in just a moment, we're gonna make 4 moves. And I want you to pay very close attention to those 4 moves because the choices are all gonna be yours. You've already made the first choice, which book to start on. And now you're gonna make a choice of going left or right to the nearest or closest fiction book. Again, that's the one in blue. So I want you to go ahead and move to the closest fiction book now. Perfect. You're on a new book from where you started, and you're going to now go up or down to the nearest book that was made into a movie. Up or down to the nearest book that was made into a movie. Go ahead and move now. From here, we're going to go diagonally. We're going to go diagonally to the closest book that was fiction, one of the blue ones again. And you're on a new book again. So keep your finger there. And one last time, we're going to make a choice. You're going to move left or right to the nearest non-fiction book. To the nearest non-fiction book, which is a red book. Go ahead and move now. You're on a brand new book from the very beginning. You made the choice of whether to go up or down, left or right, in which direction to go diagonally. But even though that you're there in your home doing all of these actions, and I'm here in my studio, I have an idea as to where I think you are. So do me a favor. I want you to remember which book you are on right now. Because I think that all of you are going to be very curious to try and figure out how I knew that you were on a book called Stay Curious, a book about Stephen Hawking and his very curious mind. If you were on Stay Curious, do me a great big favor. I would like for you to put it into the comments down below and just let us know that that's exactly where you were. Because I think everyone's going to be very curious to try and figure out how that is possible. Well, we're going to be finding out how a lot of things are possible today. And so let's go ahead and find our way to my magic workshop. Come on, join me. Welcome to my magic workshop and library. This is where I learn all of my magic. This is where I practice all of my magic. And it's where I teach all of my magic. And I'm going to teach you how to do some magic here today. But before I go any further, I just wanted to share with you a quick story about how I became a magician, how I discovered magic. You see, it was very similar to the journey through the library that we just had. I found magic at my local library. It was right after I had seen a magician at my friend's birthday party. I was 7 years old and I really wanted to learn magic. And someone told me to go talk to my local librarian and see if they had some suggestions of books that I could read. Well, not only were there a few books at the library, there was a whole section of books at the library. And these books didn't just teach me tricks and how to do them, but it gave me stories about other magicians and what they had done in the past. And it got my imagination rolling. There was one story about a magician. His name was Harry Houdini, and he would get locked up into containers. And when he was put inside the container, he would then have something cover that box up, and he would be hidden from the audience. Now, while he was hidden, people would start to murmur and think about what was about to happen. And then just moments later, almost as if he had melted through the sides of that container, he appeared on the stage and the container was completely unharmed and one piece. Well, that obviously got me to thinking, what else can you do with magic? What kind of things are possible? And I discovered that there are a lot of different things out there. And I'm going to share a few things with you today. But things that you can use from around the house. Common items. So hopefully you have maybe a piece of rope or a yarn in front of you. Hopefully you have your cards, playing cards or Uno cards or flash cards. And then some paper napkins. If you have all those things, I think we'll be ready to begin. Now, one of the things that I discovered is that using common items, things that are everyday items, makes the magic a little bit more amazing because everyone knows a thing or two about those items. Let's start off with some rope. Now, I discovered that there was a trick. The story about it was pretty amazing. The magician would throw the rope up in the air and it would stay up there until someone went all the way up to the top where they would disappear in a puff of smoke and then the rope would fall back down to the ground. Well, to me, that sounded absolutely amazing. How could something like that happen? How could something so amazing take place? And so I started to play with magic and rope. And I'm going to share with you one of my favorite pieces of magic in just one moment. But before I do, I'm going to ask you to try something with your piece of rope. I'm going to give you a challenge. And this is the challenge. I want you to tie a knot in the center of the rope. But here's the catch. You cannot let go of the ends of the rope to do it. How can you tie a knot in the center of the rope without letting go of the ends? Now, there are two ways in which you can do this. One way is magic. That's what I just did right now. The second way is very well possible. But you're going to have to make your brain work just a little bit. And so I'm not going to give you the answer quite yet. I want you to think about it. It's a challenge. But I will tell you exactly how to make it work at the very end of today's show. So be sure to stick around. But right now, I want you to enjoy this. One of my favorite bits of magic is using one piece of rope. Taking that one piece of rope and transforming it into three. Now, if I asked you to think about that, how would you take one piece of rope and transform it into three pieces? There would be a lot of guesses. And I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is not nearly as complicated as you may think. Because to transform one piece of rope into three is quite easy. I just cut those ropes 1, 2 times, and it gives me 3 pieces of rope that are about the same length, not exactly because we did not measure them. Once you have the 3 pieces of rope, I get to do the magic that I really enjoy, which is taking those 3 pieces of rope and putting them back together into one piece, making a lot of people wonder, why did I just cut them up in the first place? But this is how we do it. I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to do them one piece at a time. So actually I need 2 pieces to start off with, so I can go ahead and take one of the pieces. That's weird. I could have sworn those were much bigger, but I don't need that one quite yet. I can just put it off to the side because I'm going to need to use the other 2 pieces to make a little magic. What the heck? Hold on a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3 pieces of rope. I thought they were almost all about the same size, but clearly something has happened. Clearly, one of you has shrunk my rope. No, I'm just kidding. This happens sometimes. This happens sometimes. What you need to do is you need to take these pieces of rope and you need to stretch them out. Have any of you ever stretched rope before? You haven't? Well, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to do this. What you need to do is you need to take the 3 ends and you need to line them up. When you line up the 3 ends just like so, you can actually make the middles follow suit. I know that sounds a little confusing, but let me show you what I'm talking about. If I take the 3 ends over here, get those all nice and even, you can see the middles are going to get to the same size in just a moment, but I need your help. I need you to come closer to the screen. I need you to take your magic wands. Your magic wands are your index fingers. I need you to take your magic wands and you're going to wave them in circles around the screen. And when you do that, hopefully all the magic goes from your side of the screen to my side of the screen, and I can take those ropes and stretch them back out just like that. And I have 1, 2, 3 pieces of rope that are about the same length. Not exactly, because we did not measure them, but they're pretty close. Now, I started off by saying I'm going to do this 1 piece at a time, so I really don't need all 3 to start with. We're going to use 2 pieces of rope and I'm going to do a very special magic move. Now, this magic move is something that if you don't pay attention, you might miss it. Now, I know you probably didn't see it happen that time. I will do it another time for you. Watch very carefully because the ropes go back together from 3 pieces into 1, just like that. And I have done the move again. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that was just a knot. That was just a knot. And yes, I did not tell you what the magic move was, and I did not say it wasn't going to be a knot, but the knot is not yet complete. This one is a little bit uneven. I need to just trim a little bit here and trim a little bit there. This way, this knot and that knot are very close to being the same exact size. Now, if I take that first knot and I place it inside my hand, you can actually see as it takes a moment for the magic to start to slowly happen, and you can see that knot vanish right off the rope. From here, we can see that we have 1 more knot, and this knot right here, you probably want to see it actually go away. You don't want to see it just dissolve into nothingness. So I'll take this knot, and I'm going to ask you to take your magic wands 1 more time and hold them up to the screen. I want you to wave 1, 2, 3 times, and that hopefully will make this knot come straight off the end of the rope, just like that, leaving me with a piece of rope, just like we did at the beginning, and that is one of my favorite pieces of magic. Okay, we're going to try some magic using cards. If you have a deck of playing cards, great, grab them. If you don't, you can try this with some Uno cards or flash cards. You just want to make sure the backs are all the same and the fronts can be matched up in some kind of pair. Now, with the playing cards, we're going to use 2 black cards, 2 red cards, and a joker. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Your cards here are going to be the 2 black cards and the 2 red cards, and you're going to have those face down in your hand. You're going to take the first card and flip it so it's face up and move it to the bottom. Pick up your joker, turn it face down, and place it on the bottom. Next, you're going to take this card right here, flip it face up, and place it on the bottom. And we're going to take the next card and put it on the bottom face down. So when I spread these cards out, you'll see that I have a face down card, a face up card, a face down card, a face up card, and a face down card. Now I'm going to do this with 2 packets of cards, one with a joker and one without a joker. Now this is going to be the one without the joker, and you're going to see that I have cards that can go face up and face down just the same way. And I can spread these cards out and I'm in the same exact position. All right. The joker. This is why we always take the joker out of a deck of cards, because they like to play jokes. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Right now, we have 2 sets of cards that are spread out exactly the same way. We have face up, face down. And if I take the top 2 cards here and I turn them face up, if I take the entire package of cards and turn them face down, I now take these cards on top and turn them face down. These are things that you can be doing on your side of the screen with me. I don't know why, I don't know how, but the joker likes to play jokes. You should have the ability to have all your cards face down. But over here, the joker never likes to play fair. And this is why I never play a game with the joker. Okay, so we just did some magic with the joker. And I would like to try something with just the 4 cards that you took out with the joker, the 2 black cards and the 2 red cards. Are you ready? Just spread them out. Make sure you have all 4 cards. Perfect. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the top card. Well, in this case, the 9 of diamonds. I'm going to take the 9 of diamonds, going to place it right here in this little stand. So remember, 9 of diamonds goes on the table. I'm going to use the other card that I have, the red 2 of diamonds, and I'm going to place it with the 9 of diamonds right here. All right. 2 cards here, 2 cards here. What color cards did we just put on the table? You think that we put the red cards on the table. Well, just like that, we can actually make those cards teleport from the table into my hand. And if you want to learn how to make that magic happen yourself, do me a favor and join me in my magic workshop right now. Okay, so you just watched me perform this trick and you saw that I had 2 cards teleport from one place to another, or transform from red cards to black cards, depending on how you look at the effect. Now, to make this trick work, you're going to need to have 4 cards, and those 4 cards are going to be an alternating pattern where it has red, black, or black, red, black, red. Once you have that all set, I'll walk you through the steps that you need to take to be able to make this work. It is going to take a little practice. It's not something you can do right away, but with that practice, I know that you can do it. All right, here we go. When you spread these cards out, you're going to push them together. We're going to call that squaring them up, where you make a nice, neat little package of everything. As you do that, you are going to make it so you have a break, a little space in between the bottom 2 cards and the top 2 cards. It looks like this. Now, that is actually very easy to do once you practice it. You just put your finger in between the 2 cards on the bottom and the 2 cards on top. This way, once they're all squared up, you can take the top 2 cards and lift them as one. Now, I'm going to show it to you as a red card, but if I was to spread these out, you can see that there's actually 2 cards there. The top card, the actual top card, is hidden behind the second card. But since I tell you that I'm going to lift it up and show you as the top card, everyone thinks that this must be the top card. Now I'm going to place it back down onto the cards in my hand just for a second so I can point to where that card's going to be placed. That gives me enough reason to push off just the top card, the real top card, and put it over here. Now everyone thinks it's a red card because we showed it that it was a red card, but it's actually that black card. Once I put that one down there, I'm going to pick these cards up and flip them over in my hand so I can show everyone the other red card on the bottom. Now, here's the second sneaky thing that you have to do. You're going to push this card backwards just a little bit so you expose the middle card. As you can see, that is the middle card right there. Now, what that allows us to do is to pull this middle card out as if it's the bottom card. But of course, I don't do it facing you. I do it where it's facing me. I'll show you what it looks like. I show you the card. I bring it back towards me. I'm taking my thumb and pushing that bottom card back just enough to expose it again. That allows me to pull that card out as if it's the one that I just showed everybody. And I place it next to the other card that everyone thinks is the red card. You ask everyone, do you know what color these cards are? They'll say red, and then you'll say, and what color are the ones in my hand? And they'll say black, and then with a snap of the fingers, you can show that these are now the black cards, and these are now the red cards, and you just made a wonderful teleportation of cards. Okay, I think you guys probably got yourselves some paper napkins or some paper towel. We're going to use those right now to try a little bit of magic. And this is actually a very fun bit of magic. Don't try it yet, but just watch. Because I'm going to take a paper napkin and I'm going to tear it up. Like I said, this is a lot of fun. You tear up those pieces of paper and you crumple them up into a tiny little ball. When you crumple them up into a tiny little ball, what you're going to need to do is you're going to take that tiny little ball and sprinkle it with some magic wiffle dust. So the magic wiffle dust that I need is going to go on top of those pieces of paper, and with a snap of my fingers, I can make them all go back together into one piece. And if you want to learn how to make this trick happen, meet me back inside my magic workshop. Okay, I am now going to walk you through the steps that it takes to tear up a paper napkin and put it back together. Are you guys ready? Good. So we're going to start off with not one napkin, but two. One of those napkins gets crumpled up into a ball and hidden in your left hand. Now, you're going to notice that my hand is kind of obvious that it's holding something. So I'm going to very quickly open up this napkin and hold it with both hands, making both hands look the same. When your hands look the same, people are going to spend less time looking at them. And it'll allow you to rip up that first napkin into little pieces. Now, you're going to crumple those little pieces up into a tiny little ball. And when you crumple them up into a tiny little ball, that's going to allow you that once they go into this hand with the other piece of paper, the one that's not ripped up, you can compress them together and it will look like one package of paper. Like this, watch. I come over here, I grab this. Now I'm going to go into my pocket and say I'm getting some magic wiffle dust. That is just an excuse. There's nothing happening over there. There's no magic wiffle dust. That's just an excuse to bring people's attention somewhere else. Because as I'm doing that, I'm going to switch these two packets in my fingertips. I'll do that again for you. I just move them around in a circle from fingertips to inside my hand. One more time. From here, I just roll them over that way. Of course, all of that's happening when I'm looking down at my pocket and grabbing the magic wiffle dust. I pretend to sprinkle the magic wiffle dust on top of my hand, and I can open up the paper napkin to show everyone that it's back together. Now, you may be wondering, how do I get rid of the pieces in my hand over here? What if someone sees them? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. You could crumple all the paper up together into one package and just throw it away before anyone has a chance to ask. That's probably what you'll want to do for a while until you get really good at this trick. Once you get really good at this trick, you'll snap your fingers and you'll put all the paper back together into one piece. But that takes quite a while to learn how to do properly. So don't worry about that part. Just concentrate on the first part and you'll be on your way to making some amazing magic happen all on your own. Okay, so earlier in today's show, I gave you a challenge. Tie a knot in the center of a piece of rope or yarn without letting go of the ends. Now, some of you may be thinking that was impossible. But how many of you figured it out? Okay, so not many of you. So if you need more time to try and figure this out before I give you the answer, just hit pause for as long as you need. But right now, I'm going to show the rest of you exactly how to do this. What you're going to do is you are not going to pick up the ends of the rope and tie a knot. Instead, you are going to tie a knot in your arms and then put it into the rope. I know that sounds weird, right? But here, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I take my left hand and I place it on my right elbow, and then I take my right hand and I place it in through the hole right here that is formed with my other arm, I can reach through and I can grab the end of the rope. Now, I'm not going to let go of that end, and I'm going to pull it up. Once I pull it up like this, I can take this hand over here, reach over my arm, and pick up this end of the rope. Now, my arms are tied into a knot, and my rope is not. But if I undo my arms, the knot from my arms goes into the knot on the rope. And that is how you tie a knot in the center of a piece of rope without letting go of the ends. How many of you figured that out before I showed you? Well, it's just about time for me to go, but don't worry. I did promise you that I would share with you the great big secret of today's show. And so here it is. It's this. It's this book, The Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic. This was the very first book that I remember finding in my local library and reading it cover to cover. It's filled with magic secrets that uses money, cards, rope, and a whole bunch of other everyday objects. In fact, this book also has the secret of how to make a person float in midair and also how to make people appear out of empty cardboard boxes. So if you want to learn more magic, all you have to do is go to your local library and ask your librarian to help you find a copy of this book. Now, if they don't have this book, that's okay. There are many other books on magic out there that are filled with similar secrets. So pick up a book and read it and see if you can discover some new secrets of magic. If you actually want to know anything about a subject that you're interested in, all you have to do is go to your library and ask your librarian for some help in finding that book. But if you don't actually read the book, if you don't take it home and find out what's inside of it, well, it's like it never happened in the first place. So don't let the knowledge in those books disappear. Make sure that you read those books and remember the things that you learned and then share them with others. And thank you very much for spending some time with me today and enjoying the magic. I hope you have a great day.